This is a video of what we did in class on September 11th of 2020. We started by taking a look at our website and did some sig fig math practice. So if you click on this little link that I put at the top of today's summary, you'll see these sig figs practice. You need to do these carefully, diligently, and then after you do that, you'll be ready to take the quiz that is in Google Classroom. This is the practice for Sig Fig Math Quiz 2 and or retake. After you've tried the practice, if you need more explanation, you can still look at this video that says calculations with sig figs down here. If you need help with just how to determine what significant figures are and what numbers are significant, you watch this video that's about how to determine sig figs. So for the first part of class today, we practiced on math. For the second part of class today, we worked on ways to write 1. So we looked at this particular web page, spent a little time putting units in so that the top number is equal to the bottom number. So for example, on this 60 and 1 that I have right here, I could put I could do 60 minutes here if I wanted to. And then on the bottom, I could put 1 hour, and they'd be equal to each other. I could do 36 inches, I could do 1 yard, and they'd be equal to each other. When you get into metric relationships, it's a little harder, so up here I'd put in 1,000 milligrams, same as 1 gram. Now you might wonder, what are the metric relationships? Whoops, wrong tab there. So if you go back to the website, there's a little thing here that says metric relationships. And this tells you the metric relationships in the context of things. So if you were doing a situation where you had to write ten and 1 here, so they equal 1, you could look over here and say, well, let's see, 10 decithings is one thing, so you could put over here 10 decithings. So you could do decigrams, deciliters, decimeters, decidays, whatever. So this will be decimeters. We'll just put in meters. Could be anything, because these prefixes apply to everything, is 1 meter. So that's how you write 1. Now the reason we're writing 1 is because what I'm trying to do is teach you how to do conversion. So we then began looking at dimensional analysis problems. And I've done some of these for you. I'll erase one, we'll redo one if I don't have one that's not done. Well, let's just do numbers. Now, if you weren't here, you probably need to redo one. So we'll do a simple one. So in this one, for number 3, if you're going to try and do this, and remember, I'm all about setting up how the I'm concerned about the setup for the problems more than I am the answer. So the problems have to be set up in this way. So what you do is you write down what you're given. And that's 3546 decigrams in this case. We're going to multiply by 1, but we're not going to write 1. We're going to write a ratio that's equal to 1 so that our units cancel. So once again, we're trying to write a ratio, so we need a line, in which our units cancel. So I want the unit on this number is decigrams, so I'm going to put a DG down here. I'm trying to change it to grams, so I'll put a G up there. Now you need to know what is the relationship between grams and decigrams. So you click over to this sheet, and 10 decigrams is the same thing as 1 gram. That's how you read that. So decithings in this case would be decigrams, and that would be 1 gram. So back over here, you put a 1 in front of your gram, you put a 10 in front of your decigrams, and now you've got the problem completely set up. You just have to do the math. You may remember from math class that if there's nothing under a number, there's an implied 1. I don't really care if you write this 1 in, and I would say you don't need to, but you need to know that it's there. So when you multiply the numbers across the top, you get 0.3546. When you multiply across the bottom, you get 10. So we have to put that number, put a line there. The easy way to put a line is use this little underline thing up there. So I'm going to put underneath that 1 times 10 is 10. So 3,546 divided by 10 equals 354.6. Let's take this line out to make it look neat. All right, now let's talk about units. See, this decigram is on top and this decigram is on the bottom. So they cancel because decigrams divided by decigram is 1. And so when something cancels, that means that really what you're doing is dividing something by itself. That's what cancellation is all about. Like in a math class, if you have xy and that's divided by x, like that, then the x's cancel, and that's just equal to y. All right, so xy divided by x equals y because the x's cancel. X divided by x is 1, so you just drop it out and you leave your y. So down here you got decigrams over decigrams is 1, so you just leave it out and put in your grams that's left behind. All right, let's take a look at another one. So we'll do this one. We're going to change 1123 milligrams to grams. So 1123 milligrams. And multiply, put a ratio line. The unit that's here has to go down here because we want to cancel it. And we're going to try and find grams, so we put grams on top. Now we need to know the relationship between grams and milligrams. So you click over to your relationship sheet. You know that there's 1,000 millithings in one thing, so 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. Come back over here. 1 gram, 1,000 milligrams. Now you're ready to do the math. Remember, there's an implied 1 over here, so you have 1123 times 1, 1123. On the bottom, you're going to have 1 times 1,000. 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. Oh, we don't want to underline. Turn that off. Equals. Now 1123 divided by 1,000 is 1.123. Milligrams on top and bottom, right here, top, bottom, they cancel, so you're left with 1.123 grams. Here's a mistake that I've seen happen in my career. Sometimes students will take this number and multiply by 1 and then use that same number and multiply it by 1,000. Do not do that. This 1123 is on top. There is a 1 on the bottom. So it's a 1123 times 1 and then 1 times 1,000. So those are called one-step problems because you're going from just one step. There's your step right there. There also are two-step problems that I'm going to ask you to do. You're going to recognize the two-step problems when you don't see a prefix, excuse me, when you do see a prefix and you don't see a plain unit. So in this case, you got decigrams, but there's just plain grams. Milligrams, just plain grams. Kiloseconds, this is just plain seconds. There's no prefix. Liters, milliliters, this is just plain liters. But if we go to the two steps, the way you recognize them, there is no plain unit. See, here's a centimeter and millimeter. There's no just plain meters. So let's erase this and we'll do one of these. So when there's no plain meters, there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could use the, remember the transitive property from math, if A equals B and B equals C, and then A equals C. So you could get a relationship between centimeters and millimeters. But I think the most straightforward way to do it right now is to take your 15 centimeters. Okay, so this line here shouldn't be there. Let's get rid of that. Okay, it's 15 centimeters. And change it straight to the base unit. Now, when I say base unit, I'm talking about the unit with no prefix. In this case, the base unit is just plain meters. So we want to get rid of centimeters. We put centimeters on the bottom. We want to find the base unit. That's meters. I'm going to keep going now without putting numbers in. I'll put numbers in after we get all the units in. So now if I had solved the problem after this first step, centimeters had canceled and my units would be meters. But I want to get rid of meters because I really ultimately want millimeters, see? So I'm going to put millimeters down, or excuse me, meters down here so I can cancel meters and put millimeters on the top. So then the question becomes, what are the relationships? Because our units cancel. See, centimeters cancel centimeters, meters cancel meters. And the final unit would be millimeters in this case, but we need to know how many. So let's put our numbers in. So we have meters and centimeters. Go to your metric relationship sheet. Centi things. So meters and centimeters would be one of these is 100 of those. For millimeters and meters, go back to your relationship sheet. There's 1,000 milli things in a thing. So now you're ready to do the math. So you'd have 15 times 1 times 1,000. So that'd be 15,000 on the top. So I'll go ahead and write that in. So 15,000 on the top. On the bottom, you've got 1. Remember that 15 is still on the top. So 1 times 100 times 1. So on the bottom, you just have 100. So 15,000 divided by 100 is equal to 150. So 15 centimeters is 150 millimeters. We'll do one more. So if we did this two-step, how do you know it's a two-step? There's no plain meters. See, there's a prefix there, deci. There's a prefix here, milli. So millimeters, decimeters. No plain meters, that means it's two steps. So 25 millimeters put our ratio line in. By now you should be picking up on the fact that millimeters are going to go on the bottom because you need to cancel them. Since there's no plain unit, the first step is going to be to change it to a plain unit. So I'll put meters up here. Let's go ahead and set the rest of the units up. Put another ratio line in. Now we have meters. We want to get rid of them. Put meters on the bottom. So they'll cancel in this direction. This meter's on top. This meter's on the bottom. So meters divided by meters is 1. They cancel. On the top we put DMs. Now we need to find our relationships. So you go to your relationship list. There's millimeters to meters. So milli things to things is 1,000 to 1. So you're going to have 1. You're going to have 1,000. Like that. And then over here, you have decis to 1. So go to your relationship sheet. Decis, 10 deci things is one thing. And then you're ready to do your math. So 25 times 1 times 10 is 250. Then 1 times 1,000 times 1 is 1,000. So 250 divided by 1,000 is equal to 0.25. And the unit is decimeters because meters are canceled and millimeters are canceled. So that's how you do two-step problems. Now if you look at your homework, these are dimensional analysis problems that are in Google Classroom. You'll notice that some of them are one step and some are two step. For example, in this one, is it one step or is it two steps? Well, that's one step. So you go back to the earlier part of this video and watch how to do the one-step problem. Is this a one-step or a two-step problem? since there's no plane meters like there is over here, then this is a two-step problem. So go in the first step, change to meters, and the second step, change to centimeters. So one step, two steps. One step, two steps. One step, two steps. Is this one one or two? It's got kilometers and millimeters, so it looks to me like it's a two-step because there's no plane meters. So that's a summary of what we did. So remember, this weekend you got these things to do. You got quiz 1 retake. If you want to retake that, you can. Sig-Fig calculation quiz, that is what we practiced at the beginning of class, and I reminded you at the beginning of this video where to practice for this. And then dimensional analysis conversion is what I just talked about. This one is going to be turned off by Saturday morning, so you want to be sure that if you want to try that, you do it, because it was really due a long time ago and I've left it open. All right, that is a summary of what we did in class today.